Peter Lancicot, Ambassador and National Coordinator of St. Lucia to ALBA-TCP, with his delegation as well. His Excellency, Her Excellency Scarlett Yvette Romero, special guest to this meeting from the Republic of Honduras. Welcome. His Excellency Fadi Al-Saben, Ambassador of the State of Palestine, credited before the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, also a special guest to this meeting. Jorge Arriaza, Executive Secretary of ALBA-TCP, Deputy Minister and President of the ALBA Bank, Raul Licausi, Deputy Minister and National Coordinator to ALBA-TCP, Rander Peña. We just wanted to have these opening remarks to thank you for your visit from all the ALBA countries to this meeting of national coordinators, which was convened within the framework of the work program that was approved by our presidents in the past summits held here in the city of Caracas. And as the presidents, the heads of state and government participating in that summit, it was a historical summit. First of all, because of the moments that we're living in the world. It is a time in which we're facing a crossroads that is extremely important from the geopolitical point of view, with very big challenges for our region and for our organization. ALBA-TCP just celebrated 20 years after the amazing creation of Commander Hugo Chavez and Commander-in-Chief Fidel Castro, and little by little, several countries from South America, from Central America, from the Caribbean have been joining our organization. And we have been at the forefront of the defense of the interests of our region, the Bolivarian interest, the Martian interest, the interests of our independence leaders, and we have been able to build an alternative filled with unity, solidarity, and complementarity, which has given very good results during the past 20 years. We are certain that the most important organization with the most revolutionary concept that we have seen in the past few years is ALBA. And we have a great responsibility, dear ministers. We have the responsibility of moving forward in the strategic guidelines that were designed by our heads of state and approved in the most recent summit, which includes the 2030 Agenda, which is a work commitment for the next few years. It also includes taking care of the juncture in which we are right now. We have to say that in the past few days, yesterday more specifically, we held a meeting of the Ministers of Science and Technology, instructed by the heads of state and government during the summit, and you were deliberating to develop strategic plans and the most important proposals for the development of science and technology. You have approved a series of work programs, a series of stacks that you have committed to fulfill in order to comply with the presidential mandate. We also had a team of the ministers of transportation. They were needing to move forward in the areas of air connection, sea connection, the regulations, and everything that is related to the exchange and trade between the states of our Bolivarian alliance. Today, we will be debating on several political issues, among them our position, our vision with regard to the regional geopolitical situation and the world geopolitical situation in order to recommend actions to our heads of state and government from this alliance that has been empowered after that last summit. We'll also be debating and discussing different issues related to migration, which we have been seeing very recently. We have seen the treatment that our migrants have been receiving, especially in the United States and also in the region. You know very well the case of Venezuela. It has been unfairly managed. We have been subject to a systematic violation of the human rights, the rights of migrants, and the human rights within our region. So we have been very much impacted by this policy, and we'll be discussing this today. And of course, we will be analyzing everything that is related to the sovereignty of our territory and the peace in our territory. As we have declared for over 10 years, 11 years to be more precise, in Havana, Cuba, our region is a zone of peace, and ALBA has a great responsibility to guarantee that zone of peace and the sovereignty of our states. To this end, we need to design concrete plans, plans that are related to safety, of course, security and defense, economy, social developments, and economic developments of our states, and unity, regional unity, which we have always advocated for within ALBA. President Nicolás Maduro Moros welcomes everyone to this meeting, and he has requested, on behalf of the heads of states that lead this alliance, that from this council we issue a list of the best political recommendations, because it is a political council, so that we can design a plan not only for 2025 but also for the next 5-10 years, because I'm sure that we will be facing different challenges. I also take the advantage of this meeting to analyze, to assess the different reports that we have obtained of progress regarding economic initiatives that have been developed by the Bolivarian Alliance, such as AgroAlba, which has already given very good results. We have signed different contracts, different commitments. So investments are starting to flow in our region regarding agribusiness. We are also going to look at the economic perspective of the alliance, the ALBA economic zone, the imports, the exports, trade, international trade, intra-ALBA trade, which is essential to become stronger. So I think it is a good moment to meet ministers. There are high expectations for the result that we may obtain from this meeting. This 25th meeting of the Political Council, it is a moment to relaunch the initiative of this Bolivarian alliance. When we see that this region is starting to consider and being the target of the attacks from the United States. Recently, we saw the walk, the visit of Marco Rubio within our region, trying to threaten attacking highly successful policies such as the Cuban doctors work all around the region. We also saw the attack against Petrocaribe that has given so much benefits to the region. So this social policy through the doctors and the international work that is done by Cuba, the energy policy that has been designed by ALBA-TCP through Petrocaribe, if everything is attacked, this means that we are doing something right. We have been working in the right direction. Several of our members have been victims of sanctions, of unilateral coercive measures, daily threats, but none of those threats make us step back. On the contrary, I think the message that we are sending today with the meeting and with everything that we have been doing in the past few months, fulfilling the work agenda as established by our presidents, shows that the Bolivarian Alliance is today more alive than ever. Today we are at the forefront within our region. It is probably the most united bloc within CELAC. We will also be talking about the CELAC summit, which will be held in Honduras in the next few weeks. And of course, ALBA TCP is a united bloc, a solid bloc that is based upon principles in the strength of our actions, with a very strong based moral, a very high moral that allows us to present ourselves before the region as a true alliance, as a true alternative, and as a true project of Latin American unity. So I welcome you once again, dear ministers, and we will ask our Executive Secretary, Jorge Arreaza, to give us a brief summary of the activities that have taken place in Caracas in this meeting. You have the floor.
Muchas gracias,
Thank you very much,
hermano canciller
dear
Iván
brother
Gil.
Foreign
Agradecerle
Minister Ivan
al
Hill.
presidente Nicolás Maduro y a
I would
Venezuela
like to
por
thank President Nicolas Maduro and
tanta
Venezuela
hospitalidad y por
for
facilitar,
so
sobre
much
todo a la Cancillería
hospitality and for
venezolana,
facilitating,
canciller Iván, al viceministro
especially the
Rander
Foreign
Peña y sus
Ministry,
equipos, por
Minister
hacer realidad
Ivan,
estas
Rander
reuniones
Peña,
tan
for
relevantes.
organizing
En
such
la cumbre
relevant
del
meetings.
pasado 14 de
In the
diciembre,
summit
la
held
cumbre
on
por los
December
20 años de
14th,
alianza,
celebrating the 20th
nuestros
anniversary
jefes
of
de
our
gobierno
alliance,
tomaron una serie
our
de
heads of state
decisiones
and government made a series of
avalando
decisions
la Agenda Estratégica
endorsing the
2030
strategic
de la
agenda
Alianza
for
Bolivariana,
2030 of the
y
Bolivarian
luego
Alliance.
estas
And
decisiones fueron
then
incluso
these
precisadas en
decisions
la cumbre
were
virtual
more
del día
specified
3
in
de
the virtual
febrero
summit held
pasado,
on February
en la
3rd
que
this
se
year,
acordaron
in
fechas
which we agreed
y
upon
temas para
specific
reuniones del
dates
ámbito
and
económico
topics
en este
for
primer semestre
economic
del
meetings
año
during the first
de nuestra
6 months
alianza.
of the
El
year.
día de ayer, en la reunión de
Yesterday, in
ciencia
the meetings
y
of
tecnología,
the high authorities of science and technology,
hubo conclusiones importantes
we reached
vinculadas
very
en tres
important
ámbitos: la
conclusions in
educación y
three
la
areas:
capacitación
education and
en los
training,
temas científicos,
in
la
scientific areas,
infraestructura tecnológica
technological
y la inversión en
infrastructure,
conectividad,
and investment
la
in
cooperación
connectivity,
y las alianzas,
cooperation
y la
and
ética y la
alliances,
regulación, sobre
and
todo para
ethics
la
and
inteligencia
regulation, especially
artificial,
when it comes to
en
artificial
búsqueda de la
intelligence,
soberanía tecnológica
looking
y el uso de
for
las capacidades
technological
propias y la
sovereignty and the
protección
use of our
de
own
nuestros
capacities
pueblos.
and the protection of our
Incluso llegó a
peoples.
hablarse de la
We
necesidad que el
even
ALBA
talked
se
about the
involucre no
need
solo con
of
la
ALBA
inteligencia
to
artificial
involve
en el centro
not only with
destinado a la
artificial
inteligencia artificial que
intelligence,
se va a inaugurar este año aquí en
with the
Caracas,
center
Venezuela,
that is
sino
going to
incluso
be
ya entrar
inaugurated this year
en
to
la
work on
computación
artificial
cuántica.
intelligence, but we should
No
also start
quedarnos
working on quantum
a
computing.
la retaguardia en ninguno de
We
los
cannot
temas.
be left
El
behind in
semillero
any of these
científico
issues.
como experiencia
The
venezolana que podemos
scientific
retomar
seedbed as
para los
a
jóvenes
Venezuelan
de toda
experience
nuestra alianza becas de
that can be
estudio muy
used
precisas que
for
ofrece
everyone,
Venezuela
the
en
young people in our
25 áreas
alliance. We have
científicas
scholarships
para
in
la formación de
25
talento
scientific areas
profesional,
for the training of professional
la
talents,
ética en el ámbito de la
ethics
inteligencia artificial y
within
los
the
valores de
domain
nuestros
of
pueblos y su
AI, the
cultura
values of our
para
people,
la
their
protección
culture,
de
for the
nuestras
protection of
identidades.
our
Las
identities.
alianzas, por ejemplo, surgió la alianza con parques
Also,
tecnológicos de
the
La Habana y
different alliances,
Matanzas
for
en Cuba
example, the
para la
alliance with
generación de un
the
fondo de
Cuban
proyectos
Technological
del
Park
ALBA-TCP
in Matanzas
que puede impulsar
and
todo el
a
desarrollo científico.
technological fund of ALBA-TCP
Un
to
primer
foster
proyecto ya
scientific
determinado
development.
conjunto en
Our first
telemedicina
project in
con el apoyo
remote
de Cuba
medicine with the support of Cuba,
y generar pues todo el
and
desarrollo
of course
científico
generating
en torno a AgroAlba.
scientific development
Todo lo que
around
tiene que ver con la
AgroAlba, everything
genética,
that is related
con la
to genetics,
bioproducción,
with
la
bioproduction,
agricultura regenerativa,
regen-
los
regenerative
fertilizantes,
agriculture, fertilizers,
etcétera, la
etc.,
semilla.
the seeds.
También desde Bolivia se propuso
Also
la
from
protección de
Bolivia, they
datos,
proposed
el
the
blockchain,
protection of
la
data,
transformación digital,
blockchain,
la
digital
inteligencia
transformation
artificial
of
y la
artificial
necesidad de
intelligence,
contar
and the need
soberanamente en la alianza con nuestros
to
propios
have
centros de almacenamiento
our
de
own
datos. En
sovereign
cuanto a la relación
storage data
de la
centers.
reunión de los
Now,
ministros de
with regard to
transporte,
the meeting
que
of the
fue también una
transportation
extraordinaria
ministers, which was
reunión,
also
una
an
necesidad
extraordinary meeting,
reconocida por todos nuestros países,
it
la de
is a need
conectarnos
that
por vía
we all
marítima, por
recognize to
vía
be
aérea,
connected via air,
para
via
poder
sea,
garantizar el
to be
comercio.
able to
Vienen las
guarantee
reuniones
trade
pronto en el mes de abril,
among our
si
countries.
todo sale bien, de
In
nuestros
April,
ministros
if
de Economía
everything
y de
is right, we
Comercio
will have a meeting
para
with our ministers
desarrollar
of trade and
las
economy
alianzas
to
de la
develop
economía
the
complementaria
alliances
necesarias
and the
entre nuestros
complementary
pueblos, para lo cual
economy
debemos
among our
crear las
peoples. For
condiciones
this, we need to
logísticas.
create the logistical
Ahí se
conditions.
prevé un acuerdo
So
marco
we
en el
foresee
tema
a
de
framework
transporte
agreement
que ya se
regarding
está recopilando la
transportation,
información de cada
and we
país
are gathering the
para
information of
poderlo
each of the
poner sobre
countries
la mesa y
to put
negociarlo.
it on the table to
El
negotiate
ministro
these agreements.
venezolano
The
general
Venezuelan
Velázquez
minister,
Aragoyán
General
planteaba
Velázquez Araguayan,
cómo Conviasa como
was
línea
talking
aérea
about
ha
how
generado
Conviasa as an airline
importantes
has
avances y
made
ponía a disposición un
important
nuevo avión
progress, and
que
he
va a
was
contar la línea aérea con
putting a new
financiamiento del Banco
aircraft
del
at our
Alba
disposal
y un
that
buque
this
de
airline
la
is going to
empresa
purchase
Benevega
with
que
the Alba
comandó por el
Bank
comandante
financing,
Chávez siempre
and also
quiso
a
que
vessel
estas
from
capacidades
Benevega,
venezolanas estuvieran al
reminding
servicio
you that
de la
Commander
alianza
Hugo Chavez
bolivariana.
always
La
wanted these
formación del
capacities to be at
talento
the
humano
service of the
con
ALBA countries. We also have
fuentes
the
de
training of
formación
human talent
específica,
with sources
la
of
fabricación
specific
de puentes,
information, the
la
construction of
fabricación de
bridges,
drones, el
construction of
ensamblaje
drones,
de tractores,
assembling of
la construcción de
tractors, the
determinados
construction of
navíos,
certain
el
vessels,
mantenimiento y
the
las capacidades
maintenance,
que tengamos en nuestros países
and the
para
capacities that we have in our countries
conservar nuestras
to
flotas,
preserve
los
our
incentivos
fleets,
fiscales en
fiscal
tasas de impuestos
incentives
aeroportuarios y
with
portuarios
airport
para
tax
facilitar pues
rates
la
reduced
unión
in order to
de nuestros pueblos,
facilitate the unity of our
toda
peoples.
la infraestructura con la que
All
contamos,
the infrastructure
evaluarla
that we
de
have
manera
that needs to
concreta,
be
el turismo, cómo
assessed,
facilitar estas rutas
tourism,
aéreas
how we
y
can
estas rutas
facilitate the
para el
air
turismo, el tema
routes and the
agroalba,
sea routes for
va a
tourism.
generar
Then we have
producción
also Agro Alba
alimentaria y
that is
debemos
going to
garantizar
generate
que llegue a los países
agribusiness,
que
and we
se
need to
han
guarantee that it
incorporado
reaches the
de la mejor
countries
manera,
that
evitando
have
cualquier tipo de
joined
obstáculo
recently, avoiding any
comercial, sobre
kind
todo
of
frente
commercial
a
obstacle,
esta guerra comercial de nuevo
especially
tipo
in the
que se
situation
está. Y el
of
Banco del
commercial
Alba
war.
propuso crear un
And the
fondo
ALBA
de
Bank
preinversión
proposed the creation
técnico
of a
para financiar
pre-investment
estudios
technical
en
fund
transporte
to
regional.
finance studies
Se
of
cuenta
regional
para ello con los
transportation. For
recursos de
this, we
explorar
have
una
the
línea de
resources, and we
crédito
will
blando para
explore a
proyectos de
soft credit
transporte aéreo y
line
marítimo
for air and
con
sea
condiciones
transport
preferenciales.
systems with
El tema
preferential
de la
conditions.
soberanía, la infraestructura, la
Issue of
formación
sovereignty,
y los
infrastructure,
incentivos
training,
económicos,
and
fiscales y
fiscal economic
financieros. Es más o
incentives.
menos una síntesis
So
de
this
las
is a
extraordinarias
synthesis
reuniones del día de ayer
of
y
the
sabemos que
extraordinary
esta en
meetings that we held
particular,
yesterday, and we know that
la instancia ministerial
this one in
de mayor
particular, the
relevancia
ministerial
en la estructura de
instance,
la
is
Alianza
even
Bolivariana
more
para el Pueblo de
relevant within the
Norteamérica,
structure
bueno, va a
of
generar
ALBA, and it's
eh,
going
no solo
to
propuestas,
generate not
sino
only
respuestas
proposals but also
soberanas y dignas
sovereign
de los gobiernos
responses
que
from the
son
governments
vocería de los pueblos
that
libres de
represent
Norteamérica.
the free
Eso es
peoples
todo,
of our
hermano
American.
canciller.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias por este completo reporte.
Thank you very much
Este
for a
compañero
very complete
Jorge
report
Arreaza,
from Jorge Arreaza
en nombre de la Secretaría
on
Ejecutiva
behalf of the
del
Executive Secretariat
ALBA-TCP.
of ALBA TCP.
Y quiero sin más demora,
And without
bueno,
further
darle la
ado, I
palabra
would like to give
a
the
los
floor
compañeros
to
miembros del Consejo Político
our
del ALBA-TCP
colleagues,
para
members of the
iniciar el
Political
debate
Council of ALBA TCP, to
y
start the
vamos
debates.
a darle el uso de la
And
palabra al
now I
excelentísimo
will give
señor
the
Bruno
floor to His
Rodríguez Parrilla,
Excellency
ministro de
Bruno
Relaciones
Rodriguez
Exteriores
Parrilla,
de la
Minister
República
of
de
Foreign
Cuba.
Affairs of the Republic of Cuba.
Bienvenido,
Welcome. Yeah, Bruno?
Thank you very much, esteemed comrade Ivan Gil, Foreign Minister of the Sister Republic uh, of Venezuela, esteemed foreign ministers and heads of delegations, comrade Jorge Arriaza, Executive Secretary of ALBA, dear comrades. I bring with me warm greetings on behalf of President Diaz-Canel to the Venezuelan people, President Nicolas Maduro Moros, and all peoples and governments of ALBA, as well as his message of encouragement and certainty in victory. This meeting is taking place at a crucial juncture in which the U.S. is attempting to forcefully impose the design of an international system threatening peace, stability, and security. By means of the alleged defense of an extreme nationalism, an imperialist and racist exceptionalism, the U.S. government resorts to the use of brutally punitive commercial and economic instruments whose pernicious effect will negatively impact our peoples. It implements discriminatory, repressive, and illegal policies harming the dignity and the human rights of our nationals residing in that country, while resorting to blackmail, intimidation, and the implementation of an increasing number of unilateral coercive measures against our nations in violation of international law. In this design, natural resources, the critical infrastructures, as well as the legitimate international relations that we developed with other countries, are being threatened. And those who would not yield to this imperial plan are running the risk of being subject to an aggressive extraterritorial persecution. The U.S. is trying to violently impose the new division of the world, whereby one part would be made up by those who yield to its dictates through economic, territorial, or security concessions, and on the other hand, those who will be subject to coercion and aggression for refusing to being submitted and defending sovereign equality and the right to free determination. This design is causing direct prejudice, intentional and politically motivated harm to the sovereignty and independence of states. It violates the principle of non interference in the internal affairs of states and hinders the efforts of nations in the promotion of the full enjoyment of human rights. We cannot ignore the new threats that we face: foreign interference, non conventional war or cognitive and communication warfare, and the attempts to break or fracture our unity. Coming to our mind are the words expressed by our apostle Jose Marti, and I quote: "Our enemy has one plan: to pit us against each other, disperse us, divide us, suffocate us. Therefore, we have another plan: to show ourselves to our full potential, to get together, to unite us, to outwit it. This is a plan against another plan. Latin America and the Caribbean should continue to be a zone of peace, as was proclaimed at SELAC with the signature of the heads of state and government at the second summit held in Havana in January 2014. The Panama Canal belongs only to the Panamanian people. We have the commitment as well as the duty to maintain a system based on respectful, friendly, and cooperative relations free from threats and aggressions, as well as a climate of peace, stability, and justice, with the purpose of uprooting once and for all the use and the threat of use of force. We should work so that the ninth summit of SALAC to be held on April the 9th this year in the sister Republic of Honduras, will have as a premise the defense of unity amidst diversity, a concept adopted by the community at the suggestion of Army General Raúl Castro Ruz. Cuba strongly supports the preservation and consolidation of CELAC as a representative mechanism of coordination and political dialogue among its 33 member countries. We should focus ourselves in the strengthening of the positions of the community to hold the positions that mean a regression of our achievements and safeguard its historical background. The politically motivated use of mass deportations, violent and racist deportations of migrants by the US, is a flagrant, massive, and systematic violation of the human rights of our fellow nationals. We should mobilize ourselves to prevent them to be used as a weapon for blackmail and political pressure against our nations. The use of the U.S. Naval base in Guantanamo, a territory usurped by the U.S. to incarcerate migrants, is a brutal and illegal act that threatens uh, peace and security of Cuba and the entire region. The kidnapping without the due process or jurisdiction, without the due trial, defense, or a sentence pronounced by a competent court, and the transfer to third countries by the U.S. of Venezuelan migrants and migrants from other nationalities is an atrocious action, and it is a cruel, inhumane, or degrading treatment. The main motivation behind the Cuban migration is of an economic nature as a result of the genocidal EU-S blockade, tightened after the inclusion of Cuba in the spurious list of states that allegedly sponsor terrorism, whose impact on our economy and families is devastating. We have said to the U.S. Government that we are willing to continue honoring the three bilateral migration accords which are still in force, which are being complied with a relative normalcy by the U.S., which was signed recognizing that they respond to the national interests of both countries and benefit both peoples. That government has a lot of responsibility in the fact that Cubans residing in its territory under different migration status are there due to the politicization that has singled out the encouragement for them to migrate to damage, destabilize, and denigrate Cuba. This has forced men to ask, and they have been granted the condition of refugees under the fraud of a credible fear. These are persons leaving their country with through regular ways with passport and an air ticket in commercial airlines. And as soon as they regularize their status, they travel back to Cuba to visit their relatives in the homeland where they were born. They are the only political persecuted people acting this way, and now they are victims of those who encourage them, welcome them, and are threatening them in a merciless ways. The anti-Cuban politicians, which are members of the U.S. Congress as well as the Secretary of State, except for some exceptions, were not born in Cuba. They have not visited the country. They have been indeed ferociously anti Cuban and corrupted, and they have profiteered from the aggression against the Cuban nation. The corrupted, trivial, blackmailer state secretary is today, together with the special envoy to the dishonor of our America, the main responsible and promoter of the persecution an attempted mass deportation of Cubans residing in the U.S. or non immigrants, including those who entered that country through regular ways, who work, pay their taxes, who have acquired properties, or those who are exploited waiting for the implementation of the Cuban Adjustment Act, which is discriminatory for all other migrants from other nationalities. This is a consequence of their acts because in order to damage Cuba, they have not hesitated in damaging them or separating them from their families. Where are they now? What are they doing? Hypocritical and cynical. They do not defend, not even those who voted for you. Stop pretending, stop lying to separated families. Even former Senator Robert Menendez, who has been impeached and has insisted on the fact that the Secretary of State should accompany them to serve the 11th year imprisonment he has been sentenced to for corruption. We once again reaffirm Cuba's commitment to a regular, safe, and orderly migration and the compact against all crimes associated to migration, including trafficking in persons and illegal traffic in migrants. We likewise reiterate to the government of the U.S. its position to maintain a dialogue on migration issues and law enforcement issues, including cooperation in the prevention and persecution of these crimes and terrorism and drug trafficking. We appreciate the expressions of several members of our communities asking for the end of the U.S. blockade and Cuba's removal from the fraudulent list of states that allegedly sponsor terrorism. We proclaim once again the strongest possible support to the Bolivarian and Chavista revolution led by President Nicolás Maduro Moros, determined to defend with resolve the direct threats and unacceptable sanctions and external pressures. Venezuela will continue to prevail. Cuba reiterates its full and all out support to the commander, co President Daniel Ortega Saavedra, to co President Rosario Murillo, and the Sandinista people. Enough of destabilizing actions against the government of national reconciliation and unity of Nicaragua. Our full support and solidarity should go to the brotherly plurinational state of Bolivia in the defense of its sovereignty against uh, the U.S. interference. The dear Caribbean nations will always have in Cuba a sister that will accompany them despite every risk resulting from the tightening of the blockade in the right to receive fair, special, and differentiated treatment, which is indispensable for them to face the increasing challenges resulting from the unjust international financial system and climate change, as well as in their legitimate claim for reparations and compensations resulting from the horrors of slavery and colonialism. I say this with emotion of my very recent official tour through Africa, including the visit to the island of Gorée. We made an appeal to continue to strengthen these alliances, to close ranks in the face of those who intend to impose on us their agendas. And I quote, freedom is not begged for, it is conquered. Antonio Maceo said, this is the moment when the U.S. is increasing the ignominious campaign against the medical cooperation offered by Cuba to more than 50 nations. It is a shameful retaliation based on slanders, politically motivated slanders in the interest of attacking Cuba and affecting cooperative relations with numerous countries without calculating the damage caused to the health standards of the low income families or those who live in remote areas. And I ask the U.S. government, will the U.S. be ready to uh, fill the vacancy of the Cuban doctors with the American doctors while it dismantles the health services and leaves the U.S. people without any protection? The Cubans, the migrants who live there, using massively the so called Obamacare, Medicare of Medicaid. Could any person believe that instead of soldiers, the U.S. is going to send doctors to their home countries? On our part, we ratify the disposition to maintain the cooperation agreed upon with every country requesting our support, adopted through legal agreements based on the international standards and practice, which have been strongly defended in a transparent way, particularly in the Caribbean, in the face of the threats of proconsul ambassadors and personally from the very Secretary of State, the same who cut off the resources for health of the USAID while reinstated funds for the destabilization of our countries. To the imperialist counteroffensive, let us respond with our plan by strengthening unity, globalizing solidarity, and promoting integration, cooperation, and dialogue. Fidel said that unity means to share goals, ideas, concepts, and strategies, which we achieve through debates and analysis. And I quote, we should prevent that in the huge sea of tactical criteria, the strategic lines are diluted. We should not imagine unexistent situations. End of quote. We are called to work very hard to face the attacks of the imperialism in the interest of defending regional peace and security. Allow me to convey to you our strong belief that if this Bolivarian alliance continues to advance with unity and effectiveness, no one could prevent us from realizing the dreams that many generations dedicated their lives to. Let us take forever with us the confidence and in victory of our forefathers. Chavez and Fidel showed us the way. We are called to preserve it and to continue carrying on its legacy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, dear comrade Bruno Rodriguez Parrilla, for your very important intervention. I think you have touched upon necessary issues that we should deal with in this meeting, such as CILAC, such as unilateral coercive measures, and the blockade against our countries, the aggressions, the attacks of the United States, and the disparagement of projects in Cuba, the common position of CILAC. I think it opens us extremely interesting debate so that all of us can move forward and finally obtain a common decision, as we have done before. Now I would like to give the floor to Celinda Sosa, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the plurinational state of Bolivia. You have the floor. Thank you very much, brother Foreign Minister Ivan Gil from the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. I would also like to convey greetings from our brother president to the Bolivarian people and to our brother president Nicolás Maduro. Greetings to the foreign minister of Cuba, Bruno Rodriguez. Once again, our gratitude always for that very firm position because Cuba has been the inspiration for many countries of the world for the youth to be able to walk this path that Bolivia is walking right now. Greetings as well to the dear ministers of the different countries integrating ALBA-TCP, heads of state and delegations of this great encounter. Greetings to the Secretary of ALBA, Jorge Arreaza, that he's always very attentive to the agenda encompassing the alliance. It is an honor for me to address you in this 25th Political Council of ALBA-TCP. This year has a special significance for our people because we commemorate the bicentennial of our independence. We have lived 200 years of struggle and resistance, which have enabled us to live in the plurinational state, which synthesizes our struggle, what we are, and what we dream in deep Bolivia. This is why we invite you fraternally to all our brothers and sisters from the ALBA country to join us in August 6, 2025 in our country. We will be very thankful for your presence. We come to this meeting in this space of political concert and struggle for justice, self-determination and integration of our peoples at a crucial time of history, the history of the world and Latin America and the Caribbean. From this trench of resistance represented by ALBA-TCP, today we will draw a political roadmap to strengthen the pillars of our alliance and to materialize a common position in defense of human rights, dignity, and sovereignty of our peoples in multilateral spaces. We are convinced that unity, cooperation, and solidarity among our nations is a political strategy that is necessary and interactive. This will allow us to face the challenges in the current context that we live today. This is the right space to reflect upon the importance of living in an environment of peace. We need to unite our voices to demand and denounce impunity with which Israel has continued to deploy strategies of genocide against the brothers and sisters from Palestine. We cannot forget the words of Rigoberta Menchú, who taught us that peace is not only the absence of war, for as long as we have poverty, racism, discrimination, and exclusion, we will hardly achieve a world of peace. The peace that we claim from the global south is strictly linked to the dignity of the peoples and to respect the self-determination. On behalf of the proclamation of Latin America and the Caribbean as a zone of peace, we claim for the cessation of unilateral coercive measures against the people of the sister republic of Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua. We have to raise our voices to advocate for the elimination of the inhuman blockade imposed against the people of Cuba and its exclusion from the list of countries that sponsor terrorism. Both imperialist measures want to starve and destroy through poverty and despair the first socialist revolution in our America. We will never surrender. We will always follow the path chosen by the people of Cuba. The most recent measures taken by the Trump administration threaten the peaceful coexistence and the sovereignty of our peoples. The threat of the increase of tariffs and extraterritorial sanctions that will damage the economic, political, and social stability of our nations.
Todo esto es el libre y soberano de definir su política migratoria,
We have
pero debemos hacerlo en claro
the
respeto
rights to
a los
define our
derechos
migration
humanos.
policies, but we need to
La
do it
criminalización de
respecting
los
human
migrantes,
rights.
su
The
traslado a
criminalization of
centros de
migrants,
detención en terceros
their move
países
to
o
centers of detention in other
deportaciones
countries,
que vulneran sus derechos,
deportation in
no
conditions
es
that
algo que
violate their
podemos
rights,
aceptar.
is not something that
En
we can
varias
accept.
ocasiones, a través de la
In several
alianza,
occasions,
hemos
through the
denunciado
alliance,
y
we
condenado
have
estas
denounced
acciones.
and
Al
condemned
parecer,
these
se
actions.
hace
It
necesario
seems that it
recordar
is
que somos
necessary
pueblos
to remind
libres
them
y
that we are
soberanos.
free and sovereign
Por
peoples.
otra parte,
On the other
hermanos y
hand,
hermanas de la
brothers and
alianza,
sisters of the
no
alliance,
podemos ignorar
we
la
cannot
crisis
ignore
humanitaria
the
que hoy
humanitarian crisis
enfrenta el hermano
that is
pueblo de
faced by
Haití,
the sister
cuyo
nation of
pueblo
Haiti,
hizo la primera revolución
which
contra el
had the first
colonialismo europeo.
revolution against
Su
European
lucha por la
colonialism.
estabilidad
Its
y la
struggle for
dignidad es
stability and
también
dignity
nuestra lucha.
is
La
also our
historia
struggle.
nos ha enseñado que la
History has taught
indiferencia
us that
perpetua las
perpe-
injusticias.
that indifference
La paz
perpetuates
no es una
injustice.
utopía,
Peace
es un derecho
is not
que
a
debemos
utopia, it is a
reivindicarlo y
right that
protegerlo.
must be vindicated and
Hermanas y
protected.
hermanos, si hoy,
Brothers and sisters,
si hay un lugar desde donde debemos
if there is
responder
a
a
place
las sanciones
from which
en
we should
calidad de la
respond against
amenaza que
unilateral measures
acecha,
and the
es
threats
desde la integración de
imposed on us,
nuestra
is
América.
from here, from the
Por eso
integration of our America.
valoramos que este
That is
Consejo
why we
Político
value the fact that this political
considere
council
el apoyo
considers
fuerte y
the
decidido a
strong
las
and determined
iniciativas que
support to
presentará
the
cada uno de
initiatives
los
that will be
miembros de la
presented by
alianza
each of the members
para
of the
hacer
alliance
frente a las
to
presiones
face
externas y a
external
las
pressures
desigualdades globales.
and global
Debemos
inequalities.
consolidar esta
We must
integración como una
consolidate our
herramienta
integration
estratégica
as a
para
strategic tool
proyectarnos como
to
fuerza
project
en
ourselves
los escenarios internacionales. En este
as a
sentido,
strength in
queremos
international
compartir
scenarios.
las
In this
iniciativas
regard, we would
de
like to
forma
share
de
the
declaraciones
initiatives
especiales
in the
que
form of special
presentaremos a
declarations
la CELAC.
that will be
Estas
submitted to
declaraciones son
CELAC.
compromisos
These
políticos
declarations
que
are
reflejan la
political
lucha,
commitments that reflect
aspiraciones
the
y
struggles,
necesidades
aspirations,
urgentes
and
de
urgent
nuestros
needs
pueblos.
of our
Cada
peoples.
una de ellas
Each of them
responde a desafíos
responds to
estructurales
structural
que no podemos
challenges
ignorar.
that we cannot
Primero,
ignore.
el
First,
bicentenario
the
de Bolivia,
bicentennial of
más que
Bolivia,
una conmemoración
rather
histórica,
than a
es
historical
un
commemoration,
recordatorio
is
de que
a
la lucha
reminder
por la
that the struggle
autodeterminación
for
sigue
self
vigente.
determination is still valid.
Con estas declaraciones
With
reafirmamos
these
la
declarations,
vigencia
we
de nuestros
reaffirm the
principios
validity of
de
our
libertad
principles of freedom,
independencia,
independence,
justicia y
justice, and
soberanía.
sovereignty.
Segundo, la
Second,
declaración sobre
the
los derechos de
Declaration
género,
on
que
Gender
busca
Rights,
acelerar la adopción
which
de
seeks to
políticas
accelerate the adoption of
exteriores
policies
de despatriarcalización y
for
descolonizadoras y la lucha
depatriarchalization and
por la
decolonization.
equidad de género
The struggle for gender equality
no puede estar en un segundo secundario, más
cannot be
que
an
cuando este
afterthought.
año celebramos 30
because this year we celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Action Plan of Beijing and the 25th anniversary of the Declaration of Women, Peace and Security. Third, youth is the present and the future of our peoples. We need to guarantee their participation, their active participation in the adoption of public policies, as well as their access to high quality education and dignified employment. Fourth, food sovereignty cannot continue to be an abstract concept. We urge the FAO to define in terms that reflect our reality under the guidelines of the Action Plan of Caracas for the eradication of hunger and poverty. Fifth, forest fires have destroyed the Amazon. Bolivia has lost over 10 million hectares of forests, which affect the biodiversity, the food security, and the system of living of our indigenous communities. It is urgent to strengthen regional cooperation for prevention and the response and economic restoration in case of these disasters. The restoration of the ecosystems. Six, the declaration of COP30. It is urgent. We are facing a climate crisis that affects even more strongly the countries of the periphery as the superpowers continue to put off their commitments. Our voice must be heard to demand climate justice and concrete actions, taking advantage of the fact that COP30 will be held in a country of our region, so that together we can reinforce our participation in this great reference that needs to put COP30 above all the other COP meetings that have been held. 7. As you know, the coca leaf represents our identity as an Andean country. Bolivia is leading a process with the WTO for the revision of the coca leaf and its unjust classification in 1961 as a drug. We hope that we can hold this debate based upon science, independently, and with respect to cultural biodiversity. Eighth, illegal mining is a great threat for our ecosystems and our communities. It is imperative to strengthen regulatory frameworks and regional cooperation to eradicate these practices and promote sustainable extraction models. We hope to count on your support for the approval of all of these issues in the next CELAC summit, which be held in Honduras. We consider it is necessary to have a common position of rejection of criminalization of migration that is being applied today by the US president. We need to claim for respect to human rights and dignity of migrants included in the process of deportation. Migration is part of the history of our peoples, and it needs to be recognized as a fundamental human right. We reject the application of policies that promote massive deportations and inhuman treatment against migrants. This practice not only violates fundamental rights, but it also omits the structural causes that force thousands of people to be displaced as a result of the multidimensional crisis and capitalism. Brothers and sisters, Bolivia reaffirms its commitments with the fundamental
del
principles of
ALBA-TCP y con la
ALBA-TCP
construcción de
and with
una
the
región
construction of a region
soberana
that
y
is
unida.
free, sovereign, and united.
Los próximos escenarios internacionales actuemos con
In the
determinación,
international
con
scenarios to
unidad
come, we need
y
to
firmeza
act with
para que
determination,
nuestras voces
unity,
sean
and strength so
escuchadas
that our
y
voices
nuestros
are
derechos
heard and
respetados.
our rights are
Este es
respected.
el momento de la acción,
This is a time for action,
coordinación,
coordination,
de la solidaridad intertratable
solidarity,
y de la defensa de un
and
horizonte
defense
de dignidad y justicia
of a
para
future
nuestros
filled with
pueblos.
dignity
Yo
and
quiero
justice
decir
for
una
our
frase de
peoples.
Simón
I would
Bolívar:
like to
la
quote
unidad lo hace
Simon
todo
Bolivar:
y
unity
por lo mismo
is
debemos
all.
conservar
For this reason,
este
we need
precioso principio
to
que
preserve
nunca
this
debemos
precious
olvidar
principle
dentro
that
del
we should
ALBA
never forget within
dentro del ALBA TCP.
ALBA TCP.
Muchísimas gracias
Thank you
y
very
que
much.
viva el ALBA
Long
TCP,
live
que
ALBA
viva
TCP.
América
Long live
Latina y el
Latin
Caribe.
America and the
Muchas
Caribbean
gracias.
united. Thank you.
Querida ministra,
Thank you very much, dear
tomamos nota
Minister. We take due note
importante
of
expresión que usted
your major
nos
statement and address.
muy valioso para
Extremely
defendernos en la
valuable.
contraria defensa
The
de los
defense
ataques del imperialismo,
against
defensa
the
de la
attacks
autodominación y por
of
supuesto muy
the
contento que este
empire.
año podamos
I'm
celebrar
very happy
juntos
to commemorate
este
together
bicentenario
this bicentennial
del Estado plurinacional
of
de
the
Bolivia,
plurinational state
Bolivia,
of
hija
Bolivia,
predilecta del Libertador, y
the
nos siente muy orgulloso de estos
cherished
200 años.
daughter of
Quiero
Bolivar.
darle la palabra
Now we would like
al
to give the
compañero
floor
Batrak Yasque,
to Batrak
no sin
Jaske.
antes decirle que informarle que a las 5 de la tarde vamos a
At
estar
5
haciendo
o'clock,
un cambio de
we are
locación,
going
vamos a ingresar
to
a
move
otra locación
to
para
another
continuar la reunión
location,
en
and we're going to
el nuevo
pursue
formato.
the meeting
Entonces dejo de
in
palabra
that
al rey.
new location
Media
in with a
hora para
different format. So
el, la
in
sesión.
half an hour, we're going
Bueno,
to
querido
make
compañero
this
Batrak,
change of
adelante.
location. So, dear brother, you have the floor. Promise that it won't take half an
Compañero
hour.
Iván Gil Pinto,
Dear
ministro
brother
del Poder Popular para las Relaciones Exteriores de la
Ivan
República
Gil Pinto,
Bolivariana de Venezuela,
Foreign Minister
compañero
of the
José Mauricio
Bolivarian
Echeverría,
Republic
ministro
of
de Relaciones Exteriores de
Venezuela,
la República de Cuba, compañera Celinda Sosa Lunda,
Bruno Rodríguez
ministra de
Parrilla,
Relaciones
Foreign
Exteriores
Minister
del
of
Estado
Cuba,
Plurinacional de
Celina
Bolivia,
Sons Sosa,
compañero
Foreign
Eneas
Minister of
Carlos, ministro
Bolivia,
de Desarrollo Económico
Frederick
de Guinea, compañero Denzel Douglas,
Denzel
ministro de
Douglas,
Relaciones Interiores,
Foreign
Comercio Internacional
Minister,
e Industria
International Trade and Industry
de St.
of
Kitts and
St.
Nevis,
Kitts and Nevis,
compañero Peter Lanscott, embajador
Peter
de St. Lucia,
Lanscott,
compañero
Ambassador of St.
Frederick
Lucia,
Stephenson,
Frederick
ministro de
Stephenson,
Relaciones Interiores, Comercio
Foreign
Interior y
Minister,
Consumo de San Vicente
Foreign
y
Trade and
Grenadines,
Consumption
compañero
of
Lance
St.
Brown,
Vincent and the
consejero
Grenadines,
internacional del
Mr.
gobierno de
Brown,
Antigua y Barbuda,
representative of Antigua and
compañero
Barbuda,
Ambrose George,
Ambrose
embajador y
George,
coordinador nacional
Ambassador,
de
National
la Comunidad
Coordinator of
Dominica
the
ALBA
Commonwealth
TCP,
of Dominica,
compañera Scarlett Romero,
Scarlett Romero,
embajadora de la
Ambassador
hermana
of
comunidad
the
de
sister
Honduras,
nation of
compañero
Honduras,
Fadi Al-Sabet,
Fadi
embajador de
Al-Sabet,
Palestina ante la
Ambassador of
República Bolivariana de
Palestine
Venezuela,
before
compañero
the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela,
viceministro
Vice
Rander Peña,
Minister Rander
viceministro de
Peña,
Relaciones
Vice
Exteriores
Minister
de la
of Foreign
República Bolivariana de
Relations of the
Venezuela,
Bolivarian Republic
compañero
of
Jorge Arraza,
Venezuela, Jorge
secretario
Arraza,
ejecutivo
Executive
del ALBA,
Secretary
y
of ALBA
Raúl
TCP,
Licausi,
Raúl Licausi,
presidente del
President
Banco del
of
ALBA,
ALBA
compañeras y
TCP, of
compañeros
ALBA
ministras,
Bank.
ministros y
They are
altas autoridades de
ministers,
ciencia,
high
tecnología
authorities of
y
science and
transporte de los países
technology
del ALBA,
and transportation
compañeras y
of the ALBA
compañeros
countries,
delegados de los Estados miembros de la
delegates
Organización de
of
Estados Especiales.
the
Bien,
alliance accompanying us,
permítanme
dear friends.
transmitir los
Allow me
saludos
to convey
fraternos y de
fraternal
cariño del comandante
greetings
Daniel Ortega Saavedra
of
y la
Commander
compañera
Daniel
Rosario
Ortega
Murillo Tejada,
Sabreda
copresidentes de
and
la República de
Comrade
Nicaragua,
Rosario
así como del
Murillo,
pueblo y el gobierno de
co-presidents of the
reconciliación y unidad
Republic of
nacional
Nicaragua
de
and the
Nicaragua.
people and government of
Expresamos
reconciliation and
nuestro
national unity
profundo
of
y
Nicaragua.
especial
We
agradecimiento
convey
a la
our
hermana
deepest
República
gratitude
Bolivariana
to
de
the
Venezuela,
sister
presidida por el
Repo-
hermano presidente
Bolivarian
y
Republic of
colaborador
Venezuela,
honroso,
presided
por la
by brother
organización de esta
Nicolas Maduro Moro, for organizing this 25th meeting of the Political Council of ALBA and the members and ministers of science and technology, and also ministers of transportation of ALBA-TCP. The deliberations of these meetings are bearing their fruit in the form of an exchange, coordination, and planning to favor our peoples. We take part in this meeting, reiterating our steadfast commitment of anti-imperialist struggle, anti-fascist struggle, of solidarity and complementary, the cornerstone of our alliance. As our commander Daniel Saavedra, Ortega Savedo said, we are the spirit, the bedrock of a history, the accumulated consciousness, because ALBA is the great step of Latin America and the Caribbean after the major struggles waged during the independence against colonialism and the battles against Yankee interventions. Therefore, we continue calling injustice by their name and denouncing aggressions and the attempt of destabilization, lies, and blackmailing of imperialists and colonialists and their quislings that attack and try to stifle our ideals and the sovereignty of our state and self-determination of our peoples. We continue denouncing all forms of aggression and UCM against the dreams of peace and well-being of our peoples and governments. We express our steadfast solidarity with the Bolivarian government of Venezuela, suffering the onslaught of the imperialism with its cruel and constant and inhumane actions. We fully support with the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela in its legitimate struggle for the safe return of Venezuelan migrants. We convey our solidarity with the relatives of these brothers and sisters that have been abducted, and we demand the immediate return to Venezuela. We convey our invariable growing solidarity with the people and government of Cuba, and we condemn firmly and reject the illegal, inhuman blockade of the United States against Cuba and the inclusion in the list of the alleged sponsors of terrorism. We recognize the demands of the Caribbean peoples of reparations for the crimes of colonialism and slavery, and we reject the extortion against them for their effort to attain better conditions of life and health for their peoples. We continue denouncing and repudiating the horrendous crimes and the genocide conducted by the Zionist state of Israel against the suffering people of Palestine, with the inalienable right to enjoy of being a free and sovereign and independent state. We continue being inspired by the vision of eternal commanders Fidel Castro Ruz and Hugo Chavez, defending the supreme dreams of unity of our America, of the Caribbean, of Bolivar, Martis, and Gino Morazan, and so many men and women who preceded us and predating us in the struggle to fight in order to prevail. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Valdrag, for this very solid intervention. It's very inspiring to hear about the values uniting ALBA-TCP. We have taken note, and this will contribute to the final declaration of this meeting, especially in the work of this political council. Next, I would like to give the floor to His Excellency Frederick Stevenson, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Foreign Trade and Consumption of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. You have the floor, sir. Muchas gracias, Excelencia. Ivan Gil Pinto, Ministro de Relaciones Exteriores de la República Bolivariana de Venezuela.
I bring greetings to President Maduro,
Extiendo mis saludos al presidente
the
Maduro
peoples of the Republic of Venezuela,
y al pueblo de la República
and to all
Bolivariana de
members of our
Venezuela, así como a
ALBA-TCP
todos los miembros del ALBA-TCP.
countries, from Comrade Ralph Gonsalves, Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Last December, we gathered to commemorate the 20th anniversary of our alliance. At that time, our leaders reflected on the past, the present, and future roles of our alliance. They called upon our peoples to herald their energies and to pool resources to harness a future worthy of being passed on to the next generation, and to continue deepening our commitment to the ideals, principles, and purposes of our alliance. They also established a work program that highlighted the challenges and opportunities facing our region and our integration movement as we strive to further strengthen the many ties that bind us together and confront with solidarity the myriad exogenous shocks and crises currently besetting our societies. Today, my brothers, comrades, we meet at the ministerial level to advance the decision of our heads for greater unity, integration, and the sustainable development of all our peoples. Excellencies, distinguished guests, foreign ministers, colleagues, our world remains a theater of grave uncertainty. Multilateralism and our international system are under siege, and a potent form of neo-isolationism appears to be rising globally, engendering social, cultural, economic, and political fissures between those who exploit the globalization and those who lack the resources. Our ALBA-TCP has been called upon to deal with the disruptions arising from human failing and folly, due primarily to esoteric political interests. The sovereignty and independence of many of our member states have been threatened by forces which perpetually flout international law. This has been blatantly evident with the imposition of unilateral coercive measures on Nicaragua and Venezuela, a semblance of the anachronistic legal economic blockades inflicted against our sister nation, Cuba. My country, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, repeat once again that unilateral sanctions, no matter how their stated aim and objectives, are illegal, an affront to international law, and have no place in our international system. Accordingly, St. Vincent and the Grenadines categorically reject all unilateral coercive measures. We are conscious of the nefarious consequences which only aggravate human suffering and call for their elimination, including the removal of Cuba from the so-called list of state sponsors of terrorism. Colleagues, St. Vincent and the Grenadines underscores that our Caribbean sister nation of Cuba epitomizes the true spirit of solidarity, sharing its medical brigade unity to the region and the world to assist in the area of healthcare. We remain forever grateful and reiterate our full support to the Cuban Medical Brigade. Excellencies, colleagues, our members must not genuflect to the constellation of external forces that seek to sow seeds of discord within our ALBA family, but must show tenacity and fortitude against the prevailing winds of destruction. We must always remember that our triumphant nations have been beaten on the anvil of experience and forged in the cauldron of struggle. Colonial conquest and settlement, hegemonic oppression, and the cynical manipulation of our people for the ends of the empire have tested our resilience. However, they did not deter us nor cause us to doubt our existential humanity. We have endured all these colossal setbacks over the years, and we have progressed. Excellencies, colleagues, we must continue to stand firm in the defense and protection of our political independence and sovereignty from neo-colonial threats and incursions. We in ALBA, unremitting in our dedication and adherence to the sacrosanct body of norms, principles, and laws enshrined in the United Nations Charter, must continue to evoke the dream, vision, and courage of our founding fathers, who ventured to imagine a space for greater unity and regional integration. We must therefore strengthen our resolve to recommit to the values which we hold dearly and which underpin our constructive act, including solidarity, unity, complementarity, mutual respect, and the sanctity of national sovereignty. My colleagues, distinguished representatives, we have chalked up over the years significant achievements in a rather unaccommodating environment. From initiatives such as ALBA Health, which ensured programs like Miracle Mission, popularly known in St. Vincent and the Grenadines as Vision Now, ALBA Education, and ALBA Culture, to last year's establishment of the ALBA Development Cooperation Agency and the most recent Agro-ALBA, ALBA Azul, and the soon-to-be established Center for Science and Technology. We must be proud and we must applaud ourselves. Through these initiatives, along with ALBA Bank, PetroCaribe, and Telesur, our alliance has made continuous and continues to make positive impacts throughout our region. Indeed, we have a roadmap for confronting meaningfully our challenges. From our inherited and extant conditions, our leaders have set forth a bundle of policies and programs to advance the interests of our peoples, which are included also within the framework of our Strategic Agenda 2030. At this important juncture, my brothers and sisters, we need to renew our efforts to revitalize our mandate. From continuing to advance the call for climate and reparatory justice for members of our alliance, to championing the just cause for all peoples and stellar nations that require our solidarity and support, including those that are not members of our alliance, but who have been bedeviled and plagued by imperialistic forces, from Haiti in our region to Palestine in the Middle East. We will overcome. We must remain in solidarity always, as this is the spinal cord that has shaped our alliance. Solidarity is not only the best answer, it is the only answer. We need each other because the solution to regional and world problems can only be obtained through solidarity and collective action. Excellencies, comrades, brothers and sisters all, for it is well known that without vision, the people perish. ALBA fortunately has vision, as revealed through the foresights of liberators like Bolivar, Marti, Chatier, and current leaders like my own Prime Minister, Dr. the Honorable Ralphie Gonsalves. St. Vincent and the Grenadines has the same fervor and conviction today about ALBA-TCP as it had when we joined. On this, the 25th meeting of our political council, St. Vincent and the Grenadines reaffirms our unwavering commitment to ALBA-TCP and express full support for our declarations. Muchas gracias. Let us go forward. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Comrade Minister Frederick, for your statement. Quiero darle el derecho de palabra inmediatamente a nuestro queridísimo amigo ministro.
Dear Minister of Foreign Affairs, Foreign Trade, Consumption of St. Kitts and Nevis, His Excellency Denzil Douglas.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Our distinguished Foreign Minister of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela and Chairman of this very important meeting of ALBA-TCP Political Council today. I also address my distinguished colleagues, foreign ministers, and Your Excellencies, who are representatives at this 25th ALBA-TCP Political Council meeting. I bring you greetings from the Honorable Dr. Terence Drew, Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, and also from my cabinet of ministers of the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. St. Kitts and Nevis considered it a high privilege and honor to participate in this high-level meeting, which presents an opportunity for the Council to reaffirm its own commitments established at the inception of the Bolivarian Alliance, based on the highest of economic, social, and political principles for the advancement of our peoples of the Americas. The St. Kitts Nevis delegation, inclusive of His Excellency Ambassador Dr. Norton Wilson, thanks President Maduro, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Venezuela, for the warmth of hospitality and extensive arrangements made for us to attend this ALBA-TCP meeting. We are pleased that ALBA-TCP ministers and high-level authorities were able to discuss in detail the challenges of regional transportation, which have contributed to the underdevelopment of our region and thus deprive our peoples from greater freedom of movement and limiting the trade and economic potential for growth in our region and locking us out from enjoying the opportunities for global trade. We therefore, Your Excellency, affirm our commitment to build ALBA-TCP capabilities in the area of transportation, to consolidate tourism and economic projects of the ALBA countries through the instrument that will allow us to begin complementary and sovereign commercial exchanges within the framework of the agreed work agenda. St. Kitts and Nevis is also very pleased that it was a participant in the historic ministerial first meeting of ALBA-TCP on the scientific and technological area, as was determined to be pursued at the 12th Extraordinary and Special Summit on February the 23rd earlier this year. We are pleased that the commitment to create and find the Center for Science and Technology in AI, artificial intelligence, and free technologies is being pursued with the meeting in Managua, committing thus to achieve the above results and the above tasks and objectives. Your Excellency, we must aggressively pursue the development of artificial intelligence to face head-on the challenges in health, education, agriculture, energy, and industry. Today's meeting of the Political Council, Your Excellency, must give appropriate time for full discussion of the current and continuously emerging hemispheric political, economic, development, financial, trade, and migration issues that threaten our stability as a region and hemisphere. The challenges are so grave and far-reaching that we commend ALBA-TCP for meeting collectively on these very issues so that individually we are able to withstand and navigate before our existence as free states are completely overwhelmed. The statement sent out to us from our great, strong brother to the north will have far-reaching consequences on the continued development of our countries. The new tariffs that are being announced for imposition, the uncertainty of our future trade and economic and social development, especially health care, are frightening, and ALBA-TCP, therefore, is lauded for attempting today to provide guidance and support as we search for the best ways to confront this growing aggression. St. Kitts and Nevis stands solidly with the declarations that will be the result of our discussions today. And may we, with one mind, emerge from this political consultation with a determination to ensure that we confront these challenges, not in a state of war, but hoping that reason and common sense will prevail. May it please you, Your Excellency.
Thank you, Minister. Quiero aprovechar la oportunidad para felicitar a San Cristóbal y Nieves, que recientemente se ha adherido
Because it was recently adhered the ALBA Bank as one of the members, and we announce now that the 10 members of ALBA-TCP are also partners in our main financial instrument, which is the ALBA Bank. Thank you, St. Kitts and Nevis. Please convey to the Prime Minister Drew our congratulations for this very important achievement. Next, I would like to give the floor to His Excellency Lennox Andrews, Minister for Economic Development of Grenada. You have the floor. Gracias, señor presidente.
Esteemed comrades and friends, I bring you warm and fraternal greetings from Prime Minister Honorable Dickon Mitchell of Grenada, from the entire government and people of Grenada. I also convey Prime Minister's best wishes for a fruitful meeting and meaningful discussion. Grenada is happy to be participating in this 25th meeting of the ALBA-TCP Political Council as a further demonstration of our commitment to the development of our region. Grenada, as a sovereign and independent small island state, believes in the right of peoples to determine their own destiny without the interference of others in their internal affairs. Mr. Chairman, if there is one thing that defines us as a people and as a region, is the desire of our people to improve their lives and to make the world a better place to live. That desire of our people to improve their lives and to make the world a better place to live is a powerful instrument that we as politicians and academics must embrace as our philosophy, and it must be the anchor of our motivation and the source of our encouragement to serve the peoples of our region. Colleagues, we are meeting in strange and unexpected times when nationalistic decisions by the new leadership in the United States are in sharp contradiction to the conventional wisdom and has challenged the established manner in which trade and businesses are usually conducted. What is clear from those decisions is the need for us developing countries to look inwardly, to be more patriotic, to believe in ourselves, and to work with each other by sharing our time, our talent, and our treasure if we are to be truly economically independent and to no longer catch the cold from the sneezes of the rich metropole. Mr. Chairman, these recent economic developments would confirm the economic history that the 19th century was the century of Europe, that the 20th century was the century of the United States and its allies, but that the 21st century will be the century for developing countries of Asia, Africa, Latin America, and the Caribbean to lead the process of world economic transformation. That process has already started with the BRICS and its partners, and with countries like Venezuela that has made major strides in technological advancements and in its financial infrastructure architecture, and has placed these developments at the disposal of all ALBA member states. It is in this light that I say to the government and people of Venezuela that your exemplary support to the peoples of Grenada and the region is a clear demonstration of your commitment towards regional integration and development. But I also need, Mr. Chairman, to express most emphatically to the people and government of Cuba that your selfless interventions in human resource development and in providing quality health services to the people of this region has made you the most beloved country and people of our region. And we will always defend you and protect you against any attempt that seeks to reduce the importance of your work to the peoples of this region. Mr. Chairman, if it means that we have to give up our visa right to make sure that Grenada stands behind Cuba as one of the countries that support Grenada in thick and thin, so be it. We have a moral obligation to support Cuba and its people in every way. As such, Mr. Chairman, we call on the current United States administration to desist from using derogatory and far from complimentary vocabulary to minimize the integrity of a nationality and its people whose sacrifices and hard work would have contributed tremendously to the academic and material prosperity of our region. We in Grenada, and I would say, Mr. Chairman, I personally, being a graduate from the University de Camagüey in Cuba, further issue a call for the removal of the ancient, outdated embargo that has deterred the development potential of the Cuban people and prevented their widespread participation in the international trade system. Grenada will continue to render its support for the removal of this blockade. Mr. Chair, I vividly recall recently stating during the previous summit that ALBA-TCP has stood the test of time as a viable mechanism for unity, dialogue, and political cooperation and coordination, and has permitted member states to collectively envisage and approach challenges with determination and resolution. Guaranteeing agri-food and livestock security is vital to combating poverty and raising the living standards of our people. It is our view that ALBA-TCP is an ideal instrument that will allow us to produce the goods and services that we consume and to pay for those that we consume, but we do not produce. Let me reiterate, as I did at the summit, Grenada and the Caribbean's desire for a review of the classification of Caribbean countries as middle-income countries and for the need to measure vulnerability accurately. As middle-income countries, we now find it difficult to access concessionary financing from the international financial institutions, the IFIs. As a member of ALBA, we need to coordinate our efforts in calling on the IFIs to relax the stringent measures. We need urgent access to concessionary loans and grants in our development process. Grenada reaffirms its commitment to ALBA-TCP because in it is embodied great expectations for the peoples of our region. In closing, Mr. Chair, I salute Compañero Fidel Castro Ruz of Cuba and Compañero Hugo Chavez for their visionary leadership in creating this institution, ALBA-TCP, which today is championing the transformation of our region. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Muchas gracias. Thank you, Minister. Queremos inmediatamente darle la palabra al excelentísimo señor Ambrose
George, Ambassador and National Coordinator of the Commonwealth of Dominica before ALBA-TCP. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Your Excellencies, Ministers of Foreign Affairs, other ministers of the respective member countries, Executive Secretary of ALBA-TCP, President of the ALBA Bank, ambassadors, ALBA-TCP coordinators, technocrats, fellow delegates present at this meeting. On behalf of my delegation, we bring you greetings from our Prime Minister, Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit. who continues to provide astute leadership to our country and the region as a whole. Mr. Chairman, we have a very strong alliance. The fact that every member country of the alliance is present at this political council meeting is a clear demonstration of our strength, our commitment, and our resolve to face and overcome the challenges which are confronting us as a region at this time. So, Chairman, we are in real time, and it is happening before our very eyes. Here I speak of the attack on the Cuban medical program, which has and continues to save lives and improve the health of our peoples. The question, therefore, Mr. Chair, is, what is the alternative? And if I were to answer that very question, I would say there's no alternative in sight. Therefore, if the perpetrators are allowed to unfold their plans or to implement their prerogatives, this should be regarded as a war on humanity. We also know of the intentions of the attack on Petrocaribe, an institution which provides meaningful resources to many of, if not all our countries within our alliance. We are very dependent on those resources. We also do not see any alternative in sight, and therefore we need to stand very strong. We need to speak with one voice and to condemn the intended actions against the institution Petrocaribe. We've recently heard and seen on television a direct attack or plan to attack Venezuela, who is attempting to defend its territory and its own rights. Mr. Chairman, we have to stand firm. We have to speak with one voice, and we have to defend our alliance. At our meeting yesterday, Mr. Chair, we spoke of many initiatives, plans and programs which are designed to bring improvements and development to our countries within our region. We have expressed our support to these initiatives, and Mr. Chair, the conclusions which will be drawn at this meeting today, we also wish to give support to those conclusions. So, Chair, I'll be very brief, and I just wish to thank you, the government of Venezuela, and the executive of the ALBA-TCP for having us here and providing us with a high level of hospitality which we have been experiencing. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Muchas gracias. embajador George de la Mancomunidad de Dominica. Importantes reflexiones sobre la defensa de
the defense of Petrocaribe, ALBA-TCP, and the Latin American and Caribbean unity that we need to preserve. Next, I would like to give the floor to His Excellency Peter Lancicot, Ambassador and National Coordinator of St. Lucia for ALBA-TCP. You have the floor.
Comrades, brothers and sisters, ministers, ambassadors, all delegates to this meeting, I bring you very special greetings from St. Lucia, particularly from our Prime Minister, Honorable Philippe J. Pierre, and our Foreign Minister, Honorable Alva Baptiste. Comrade Alva Baptiste has said over and over that whenever he attends meetings of our ALBA-TCP Political Council, he feels that he is in family. He is unable to be here today, comrades. And I know that he misses his ALBA-TCP family at this time. Therefore, today, esteemed colleagues, it is my pleasure to enjoy our ALBA-TCP family in the minister's absence, and I am enjoying the feeling. It is my pleasure to address this August gathering of ALBA-TCP member states this afternoon as our member states political council meets for our 25th meeting in Caracas, Venezuela, birthplace of General Simon Bolivar, Commander Hugo Chavez Frias, and many other heroes of our Latin American and Caribbean struggles against Western imperialism, colonialism, and neocolonialism. Today, as I address this August gathering and make the point of the historical struggles against Western imperialism, colonialism, and neocolonialism, the world, including our America, is facing the resurgence of fascism, the cube root of all the other isms, saying that fascism normally involves an extremely and dangerously acute fusion of political and economic power in a minuscule minority of persons in any particular state. Notwithstanding this phantasmal fusion, the people and governments of our America continue to be infused with the will and the vigor to confront that dangerous concoction, and popular entities such as our ALBA-TCP family evolve out of the contradictions and challenges that these phenomena represent for our populations. Besides our political responses, or better said, hand in hand with such political responses, there is a simultaneous need for economic and social initiatives that enable our countries to confront the challenges. In other words, comrades, we must struggle to secure the economic viability of our member states if we are to adequately and successfully confront the political attacks of Western imperialism and neocolonialism. Let us recall in this regard that former regional and international mechanisms for development cooperation, as designed and executed by the managers of these mechanisms, have not worked and continue not to work in the real benefit of our Latin American and Caribbean countries. This is why regional cooperation and development entities like ALBA-TCP, CELAC, etc., have evolved and will continue to evolve in the philosophy and teachings of Marxist-Leninist thought. In the philosophy and teachings of Marxist-Leninist thought, we refer to the concept of historical necessity. It was historical necessity, comrades, that catalyzed and propelled the birth and progressive evolution of the United Nations itself, the World Bank, the Bretton Woods Agreement, and in more recent times, the Caribbean Community, better known as CARICOM, the OECS, and today, ALBA-TCP, CELAC, etc. These mechanisms evolve out of humanity's need to resolve important contradictions. And speaking of the critical need for economic and social viability as ALBA-TCP member states, today's ALBA-TCP political meeting is taking place against the backdrop of discussions on two important elements of the vital economic infrastructure that are indispensable to such economic viability of our member states: science and technology and transportation. Yesterday, in this very room, my two colleagues, Ms. Lenita Joseph and Len Malze, two young ladies we are now introducing to our work in ALBA-TCP matters, delivered remarks on these two vital areas of St. Lucia's economic and social viability infrastructure. As regards the social, economic, and political contradictions that Western imperialism and neocolonialism have been imposing upon our people for so many hundreds of years, today's 25th Political Council also takes place in a context tainted by the most extreme manifestation of the wickedness and bloodthirsty tendencies of the fascist phenomenon, the murder of innocent human beings in Palestine. The entire world is witnessing the genocide in real times of tens of thousands of innocent children, women, and the elderly in Palestine. This is a grave social and political contradiction, accompanied more recently by the economic contradiction that the principal supplier of the weapons that inflict this massacre of tens of thousands of innocent people, innocent Palestinians, hopes to annex the Gaza Strip to convert it into the so-called Riviera of the Middle East. What a grave economic and political contradiction, my comrades, in the very belly of the 21st century. Why should 2,000-pound bombs be necessary as ammunition against helpless children and women in refugee camps in Palestine? ALBA-TCP member countries will continue to raise our voices against the perpetrators of that genocide, as well as the root causes of such criminality in the heart of humanity's 21st century. And on the matter of respect for territorial sovereignty, ALBA-TCP continues to raise our voices against the ridiculous but criminal actions against our member states, Venezuela, Cuba, and Nicaragua, in the area of economic sanctions and other coercive measures designed to undermine the economic and social fabric of these member states in particular. These sanctions are all failures. Como decimos en español, son fracasos, son medidas fracasadas, mis hermanos y hermanas. A fact that President Barack Obama himself had realized long ago. Yet they continue to be implemented in blatant disregard of the archaic nature of the policy and in violation of the sovereign rights of the nations and the peoples of our America. In violation of such sovereign rights, of the United Nations Charter, the Inter-American Convention on Human Rights, and international law itself, we see the violations of all these tenets in what is going on in the world today. And to add insult to injury, comrades, ALBA-TCP member states are now being accused of encouraging human trafficking as we continue to accept and enjoy the generous and vital assistance of our Cuban comrades in the management and viability of the health infrastructure and services in our countries. Cuban medical cooperation constitutes one of the fundamental bases of ALBA-TCP cooperation, and nothing and nobody can change this. This vital and immutable aspect of our ALBA-TCP cooperation will be further highlighted during our 9th CELAC summit in April this year, so that all detractors and naysayers can take note once again We shall not be moved where ALBA-TCP and Cuban solidarity is concerned. And let me reiterate here, on behalf of the government and people of St. Lucia, that St. Lucian Cuban solidarity is not negotiable and not for sale at any price. Caribbean and Latin American solidarity, not deals, is the basis of our friendship in our America. On behalf of the government and people of St. Lucia also, allow me to express our congratulations to the people and government of Bolivia as that great and unique Latin American nation prepares to celebrate 200 years of national independence from colonialism on 6 August 2025. Let me say hello to Comrade Simon Bolivar, Fidel Castro, and Hugo Chavez, wherever they may be at this time, with the words, Patria o muerte, venceremos. Gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Peter Peter Lansicott from San Lucio. I will send fraternal greetings to this important nation. Now, I would like to invite, with the permission of the dear members of this council, to ask Scarlett Romero from Honduras, accredited before the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, to address a few words to this council as a special guest. You have the floor. Good afternoon, comrades gathered here today. I send fraternal greetings to the President of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, dear friend of the government and people of Honduras, our dear and friend Ivan Gil, Foreign Minister of Venezuela, our host in today's meeting of the Political Council, dear brothers and sisters, foreign ministers, ambassadors, dear friends. On behalf of our noble people of Honduras, on behalf of Xiomara Castro, our president, on behalf of a dear friend of Celaya Rosales, a dear friend of the region, we bring revolutionary greetings. I would like, first of all, to take this space where we are meeting today to reaffirm the invitation to the ALBA-TCP countries to accompany us during the 9th Summit of Head of State and Government of the CELAC that should be held 7th, 8th, and 9th of April this year in Tegucigalpa, capital of Honduras. Our President Xiomara Castro and her team will be honored to welcome the 10 ALBA countries, a fundamental axis in the struggle to defend unity within diversity. On behalf of our President, her government, and our people, I would like to thank ALBA for the special invitation to attend this space of brotherhood, struggle, and continue and joint work, gathering brothers and sisters of the greater homeland of Bolivar and Morazan. Today, once again, I have the opportunity to represent the government of Honduras for the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. And on this occasion, where we reaffirm our commitment to strengthen the bonds of friendship, solidarity with its sister nations, premised on the principles and practices of international law, promoting solidarity, respect to self-determination of peoples, the non-interference and the strengthening of peace and universal democracy. In this regard, we join the demand of peoples of the world for Cuba to be excluded from the list of states who allegedly sponsor terrorism. We know the invaluable contributions of the government of Cuba to benefit the great majorities eternally excluded around the world. We also join the demand for continued immediate lifting of the UCM imposed on Nicaragua and Venezuela, and we reaffirm our solidarity with you. Our constant solidarity with the Palestinian people that continue suffering an illegal occupation of the territory. We reaffirm our support to historical struggle for survival, resilience, and permanent courage. Our prayers and our heart will always go to you. Today, we are gathered here as observers of ALBA, an association of countries that, as Honduran, we always respect and admire. We want to state very clearly that from the Republic of Honduras will always plead and will defend tirelessly the processes of each nation. Self-determination of the peoples is essential to advance with democracy we want to have. Real democracies that should be an inalienable right of our Latin American and universal countries. General Morazan told us that the greatness of a homeland is not measured by the size of the territory, but by the honor of the children. And quoting our President Xiomara Castro, we cannot never forget that we continue being resistant toward victory forever. We will prevail. Thank you very much. Dear Ambassador, thank you very much.
Por su intervención y su mensaje de parte de el aguerrido pueblo de Honduras que ejerce la presidencia de CELAC y se cuente que
presidency of CELAC and the ALBA-TCP bloc will be present as one in there. Next, we will give the floor to His Excellency Lance Brown, Senior Officer of Consular Affairs of Antigua and Barbuda, for his intervention. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Gracias, señor presidente.
Your Excellency,
Excelencia,
Honorable Foreign Minister of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, Honorable Ministers of Government of ALBA states, distinguished government officials, fellow delegates, brothers and sisters. I bring fraternal greetings from the Honorable Gaston Brown, Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, and the Honorable E.P. Chet Green, Foreign Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, who are unable to attend this very important meeting due to the exigencies of government service. The convening of this meeting is quite auspicious, coming together as we are at a very unpredictable period in the hemisphere. The current geopolitical tensions now existing between the United States and Canada, Mexico, Cuba, Venezuela, and China have potentially tremendous economic and social implications for all of us if immediate actions are not taken to engage in meaningful dialogue among key players. The need for our continued solidarity is absolutely critical now, more so than ever before, perhaps, as we prepare to manage the possible economic, political, and social fallout. Now is the time for strategic diplomatic engagement and committed solidarity. As governments, we have a responsibility to ensure that our region remains a zone of peace, fostering economic stability and sustainable growth for all citizens. As independent countries, we must continue to defend our sovereignty, guided by the noble ideals of our late exemplars, Fidel Castro and Hugo Chavez, for an integrated Latin America and the Caribbean. Antigua and Barbuda remains fervently committed to the principles of the Charter of the United Nations to promote friendly and cooperative relations, the peaceful settlement of disputes, strict compliance with the commitment of non-intervention directly or indirectly in the internal affairs of any state, to foster a culture of peace and to promote nuclear disarmament as a priority goal. It is therefore important, imperative even, that we continue our efforts to implement the programs identified for the further development of member countries of the ALBA as concrete responses to the current political threats imposed by the United States of America. It is our collective dedication to functional cooperation that will help us navigate the fallout of uncertain conditions existing in the hemisphere. The Agro-ALBA initiative is a key strategic plan that will further strengthen our solidarity as the ALBA family, with the potential to transform the agricultural landscape among this esteemed grouping. The Cooperation Framework Agreement for the purpose of promoting sustainable development, increasing agri-food productivity, and improving food security and economic standards is vital in helping us to operate within a well-structured cooperation framework based on solid economic and social data. The recently concluded meetings of ALBA ministers responsible for sea and air transportation and science and technology represent additional practical and relevant areas that will further stimulate solutions to enhance our capacity for extensive cooperation within ALBA. Colleagues, our founding fathers, comrades Castro and Chavez, have left us a legacy of determination and creativity in our efforts to realize the integration of North America and the Caribbean, by helping to create the requisite integration mechanism to underpin our shared pursuit of equal rights and peace. It is in difficult times like these that we need to dig deep to ensure that ALBA-TCP as a regional development mechanism which promotes engagement and fraternal ties between Latin American and Caribbean nations serves as a universally admired example of the Global South's willingness and its ability to cohesively navigate current and future economic, social, and political challenges. In this regard, Antigua and Barbuda remains committed to the principles of respect for sovereignty, territorial integrity, and non-interference in internal affairs of states. These are values that continue to characterize our relationship with all friendly countries. It is essential that all our states redouble our efforts to foster sincere dialogue and constructive cooperation rather than to engage in hasty, reactionary behaviors that fuel divisions. As custodians of the Latin American and Caribbean regions, elected as we are through democratic systems and procedures in our respective countries, we have a responsibility to ensure that we resolve our disagreements, our disputes, and our differences by institutionalized procedures, which are already enshrined to promote fairness and mutual respect. All nations of this very important region must persevere with renewed vigor to ensure that as governments of Caribbean and Latin American nations, we maintain peaceful relationships and solidarity between ourselves, both now and for generations to come. Thank you, Excellencies.
Thank you, Mr. Lance Brown, Senior Officer, Consular Affairs of Antigua and Barbuda. If the members of this council will allow me, I would like to give the floor to His Excellency Faria Sabeh, Ambassador of the Palestinian State, accredited before the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, representing the State of Palestine as a friendly member of this alliance. You have the floor, Ambassador. Thank you, brother Foreign Minister. It is an honor and a privilege to be here today with all of you to participate as a sister nation in the Political Council of ALBA-TCP. Palestine will be eternally grateful to the countries of ALBA for their support and solidarity and so much affection. Palestine is also eternally grateful for so many shows of fraternity from the people of Venezuela and President Nicolás Maduro Moros. Mr. Ivan Gil Pinto, Minister of the People's Power for Foreign Affairs of Venezuela, Ministers, distinguished representatives of the member states of ALBA-TCP, Executive Secretary of ALBA-TCP, Jorge Arreaza, special guests, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you on behalf of the government of Palestine and the Palestinian people for this invitation. For Palestine as a friendly member country to this 25th meeting of the Political Council of ALBA-TCP in this crucial time for the region of Latin America and the Caribbean, and also for the region of the Middle East. For the analysis of the challenges of the current geopolitical juncture and the definition of the strategy for joint action in the different regional and multilateral scenarios. In this juncture, ALBA-TCP establishes a reference facing the projects of imperial domination, focusing on Latin America and the Caribbean and other regions of the planet, including the Middle East. Brothers and sisters, as you know, Palestine is going through a very delicate situation as a result of the genocide attacks that have been perpetrated against our people in the Gaza Strip for over 17 consecutive months, starting October 7, 2023. According to some preliminary estimates, the brutal aggressions from Israel have left a balance of over 52,000 people dead in the Gaza Strip, most of them women, children, and elderly people. Brothers and sisters, Israel has left the Gaza Strip as a cemetery of women and children. And as the St. Lucia ambassador said, now they want to build a Riviera in the Gaza Strip after it has become a death pit for women, children, and the elderly. 18,000 children in 17 months, an average of 42 children every day. 13,000 women, 3,000 of them were pregnant. And Israel is not violating human rights. There is no violation of human rights. by Israel. All of this thanks to the blind support of the United States and also thanks to the complicit silence of the international community. Silent in this very crucial time. If you are silent, you are a part of the genocide against our people. This brutal aggression against Gaza has left over 1,000 professionals of the health murdered. Over 200 of journalists have been also killed, and 280 UN workers, members of the UN, workers of the UN were also killed. Mr. Secretary, currently 2 million people are at risk of starvation due to the blockade and the occupation of Israel against the entrance of humanitarian aid, food, and gasoline to Gaza, which contributes to the death of millions of Palestinian innocents. On March 8th, the occupying power broke the ceasefire that was reached on January 19th for Gaza, that had given a truce of relative calm in Gaza. From Tuesday up to today, 1,000 people have died, have been killed by the Israeli army. 75 of them, women and children, and the world is silent, in a coma. Brothers and sisters, the grave situation faced by Palestine is testing the very foundations of international order that are being undermined by Israel and its Western allies, who have given a green light and financing to the war industry. Starting October 7, 2023 until today, Israel has received over $70 billion in military aid, only in military aid. Bombs, planes, ammunition. Our children are being killed, brutally killed, by weapons that have been supplied and financed by the West. The government of President Mahmoud Abbas has reiterated its commitment to continue to work for the Palestinian people from Gaza, the West Bank, and Jerusalem, our eternal capital city, through the Arab Initiative for the Reconstruction of Gaza as a response to the plans of expulsion of the Palestinian people in Gaza. Israel wants to expel 2.4 billion inhabitants of the Gaza Strip to other places. This is the greatest extermination of a people. Now Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, gave orders to the Mossad to look for other countries that are going to receive the displaced, the Palestinian population. This was a proposal in the last extraordinary summit held at the beginning of March in Cairo, which had the support of every Arab country and the countries of Islamic cooperation. From here, we call upon the member countries of ALBA-TCP to join this consensus in support of the proposal of the Arab Initiative to rebuild Gaza, and also for the ceasefire and the access of humanitarian aid permanently and the fulfillment of the resolutions of international law. In this complex scenario that we face, we salute the brave positions taken by ALBA-TCP, which in recent declarations on February and March have condemned the proposals of forced displacement of the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip. Likewise, they have rejected the escalation of Israeli violence and genocide, which violated the ceasefire agreement reached on January 19th, and the resulting implications for the safety and regional stability. Israel is bombarding the Gaza Strip, is bombarding Lebanon. Yesterday, they bombarded the capital of Lebanon, Beirut. At noon, they bombarded Beirut. They are bombarding and they have confiscated Syrian territory as well. Attacking and bombarding three countries, and the world is silent, of course, thanks to the blind support of the West. In this complex international scenario that we face, ALBA-TCP remains an example to build another world, because a new world is possible, one that is based in South-South cooperation. We make a humble appeal to unity, to close ranks, to face the challenges that we have today. We need to stand firm in the defense of the dignity of our peoples in Latin America and the Caribbean, as in the Middle East. We need to strengthen the ties of economic cooperation and concrete actions. The multilateral scenario to face the new imperial projects that want to take control of the Middle East, Latin America, and the Caribbean. Therefore, we also salute the different initiatives of economic cooperation of ALBA-TCP that have been recently deployed, such as Agro-ALBA, ALBA Azul, the ALBA Bank, and other initiatives of cooperation. Brothers and sisters, today more than ever, we need to be united in the protection of the dignity of our citizens in our countries. Our citizens within Palestine and within each of your countries, and in the protection of our identity and our culture that wants to be destroyed with imperial projects, unfortunately with new faces. Once again, I reiterate my gratitude on behalf of the government and the people of Palestine for this invitation to be a part of this very important political council of ALBA-TCP. We are eternally grateful to you. Long live Free Palestine. Long live brotherhood among the peoples of America. We will prevail. Thank you. Ambassador Faria Sabeh, Plenipotentiary Ambassador of the State of Palestine to Venezuela. We have concluded the stage of interventions of every member state of the alliance, of the political council, as well as the special guests that we have. I would like to thank you for each of your interventions. I also would like to submit for your approval, if there is no remark, of the draft declaration that has been circulated to each of the delegations. I understand it has been reviewed by every team. If you have no objection to this declaration that is summarized in 18 main points of the central aspects of this political council, we can consider approved in this meeting. It is approved. I don't have a table, but it is approved. Once again, on behalf of President Nicolás Maduro, on behalf of the heads of state and government, presidents of the Bolivarian Alliance of the Peoples of America, after the instructions provided on February 3rd in the summits held here in Caracas, we would like to express our gratitude and admiration for these meetings that we have held yesterday and today within the framework of relaunching this alliance. And these meetings have been focused in very concrete aspects of cooperation and unity, which is the most important thing. We have worked on science and technology. The Executive Secretary already explained this in detail. I believe that we are opening a perspective of work that is essential to gain sovereignty such as sovereignty, artificial intelligence, healthcare, research in different areas. I think we have a very important challenges for the next few years. And there is also a concern for the heads of state and governments and the prime ministers, which is related to transportation. And I think that there were many advances in the meeting yesterday because ALBA-TCP needs to be a unit connected via air and sea. And I believe that yesterday the transportation authorities gave very good news and important progress. One of the goals that we had set for ourselves for the next month is to have a series of activities. The Executive Secretariat is preparing an encounter of ministers in the financial and commercial area, especially to address the topic of currency exchange. This is also a mandate from our heads of state and government, and the organization of an agri-food fair to launch Agro Alba and Alba Azul. I would like to give the floor to the Secretary once again so that he can report on these activities that will take place on April 24 here in Caracas. And we would like to have the approval of the members of this political council so that you can in time report to the respective authorities. Thank you very much. Indeed, this cycle of meetings that were approved in the last meeting of presidents and prime minister on February 3rd. First, we have this science, technology, and transportation and the political council. This is the first cycle. And the second one will be held here also in Caracas within the framework of an expo, an Agro Alba Expo. We will ask for supplies for every country to organize this. We will have the ministers of agriculture, fisheries, trade, and economy. So we will obtain the reports of a study carried out by CELA regarding the economic and productive potential of our countries endorsed by your governments, and then we will start to build the matrix of economic complementation, and of course everything related, well, as we need vessels and planes for trade, we also need payment mechanisms. Sucre, the ALBA currency, is being reassessed in light of new technologies. We have a mechanism of catalogs that, in spite of aggression and blockades, maybe we could pay with our local currency the production that is going to be exchanged between our countries. So we hope to meet again here in Caracas from 24th to 27th of April. We will, of course, submit the verbal notes with the detail of the agenda. Well, if there's no further interventions from the heads of delegations, ministers, I would like to conclude by making a brief summary. I think it's been a very productive meeting. I think we have aligned the political objectives of ALBA-TCP once again. We have a very challenging horizon in front of us. We have some complications, but they are small when compared to the strength of our Bolivarian alliance. We are political strength, historical strength, moral strength, and this is going to enable to put to the test this organization that has been alive for over 20 years, thanks to our leaders, starting with Commander Hugo Chavez and Commander-in-Chief Fidel Castro, who created in 2004, this alliance that has been moving forward has been attacked mercilessly as well. What we saw in the last week from the Secretary of State of the US, Marco Rubio, was a demonstration of the fear that they have to our unity. They fear that we are able to build a common future, a united future. And in the face of this demonstration, I believe that the responsibility of our states, our governments, is even greater. And I saw this in your interventions. We see the common interests, the aligned interests. We all want to condemn imperialism, neocolonialism, intervention, sanctions. We want to protect our migrants. We want to build feasible economic alternatives. We want to have a financial and productive architecture that goes to the core of the peoples, the activation of our social movements in the construction of this bloc, this powerful bloc. Not because of its size or dimensions, but because of its moral strength. Now we have an opportunity from the 7th to the 9th of April. We will have the select meeting, and we will have a united bloc to move forward within our region, because this is the drive that we need today to defeat the dark forces of this continent that are re-emerging today, such as fascism that wants to be imposed as a doctrine to destroy the tenets that we hold dear here in ALBA-TCP. I thank you once again on behalf of President Nicolás Maduro. This working session will continue in a different location with our president. Once again, I congratulate you. Of course, we're going to have transportation that is going to take us to the location of the meeting and to the heads of delegations as well. And we will continue to work to delineate our common political position of the bloc. Thank you very much.